And now the part you've all been waiting for, the famous JavaScript rollover. And we're going to look at how this page is done. Here's one type of rollover that I call the highlighting rollover. And this is another type of rollover that I call the pointing rollover. And finally, this is another type of rollover that I call the slideshow rollover. And this one here is a combination of all three in one. While this chapter certainly is not intended to be a comprehensive tutorial on JavaScript, in fact, it's far from it, it is intended to give you just enough information so that you can create these effects, including giving you a copy of my generalized JavaScript rollover code, which does all these different types of rollovers in one piece of code and allows you to use them all in various combinations in one document. As shown here, each of these sections is the different types of rollovers, and I'll show you how they're all done. It's actually rather simple once you see it. So, getting started, this is a document that I wrote for the Creative HTML book, and so you'll notice that the tags are all in lowercase instead of in uppercase. Actually, this document here is not, it's included on the CD-ROM, but it's not discussed in the Creative HTML book. Separate documents are that do the different rollovers separately. And this was just an experiment that I wrote at the time that I was writing the JavaScript, and I happened to write all the tags in lowercase, so it looks a little bit different than the other ones that we've been using. The JavaScript starts here with the tag script, and we have type equals text/JavaScript, and really the only purpose for that whatsoever is so that it validates. And language equals JavaScript, which tells the browser what scripting language you're using. And just as with CSS style sheets, we've enclosed all of the JavaScript in an HTML comment so that older browsers that don't understand JavaScript won't just go and display the code on the page. JavaScript comments are introduced with 2 slashes. Actually, JavaScript comments can be done in a number of ways. This is the one that I used for here. And the code starts here, and all you really need to know about is the part between these big comments here, which is where you list, separated by commas, each of the images that you will be swapping out one way or the other. And the purpose for this is it forces the browser to preload all of those images so that they will swap quickly without having to go out to the server and grab the image and bring it back, which takes too much time and it ruins the effect. Also, in JavaScript, these commas are separators. They are not terminators, and therefore the last one cannot have a comma. If you put it there, the whole script stops working. So I tend to put one image all by itself, and it's the blank image, and it's already loaded anyway, and I just put it there so that I can use commas with all the other ones and not worry about it. And this note here is important. You shouldn't need to modify anything below this line. And remember, no comma after the last image. So we'll skip all the rest of the JavaScript, and we can leave that for another course on JavaScript that I believe lynda.com is already preparing. And that's the end of the head section right there, and the body section begins here, and now the fun begins. Here we have a massive table with all kinds of little thingies in it, and in each table cell there is a href, which we're already familiar with, and empty content. What that does is it allows a place for the mouse to roll over. And the mouse changes to an arrow, but if you click on it, really nothing happens. It just comes back to the same page. And then there's the on mouse over and on mouse out attributes. On mouse over is for some action to happen when the mouse is over the tag, and on mouse out is for something to happen when the mouse exits the area. And so on mouse over, we call the swap function, which is part of the JavaScript, and we give it the name of the image and the image we want to swap into its place. The name, and here's the image tag, and the image tag has the famous blank alt that allows it to validate, and the name attribute, which we talked about before, and here the name equals 1. And so 1 appears over here in the name part of the swap function, and then the GIF itself that's going to be swapped into its place, 1-on.gif, will then replace the image that's here by default, which is 1-off. And then when the mouse goes out, it puts 1-off back again. So what you have is the mouse over, puts a new image in, the mouse out, puts the old image back in. And here you have that effect. Here's 1-off. 1-off is the black one, and 1-on is the yellow one. And that creates that effect. And so we have the same thing in each of these places, 2-on, 2-off, 3-on, 3-off, and the name equals 2, and the name equals 3, name equals 4, name equals 5. We have border equals 0, which we talked about before, width equals 100, height equals 15. And, I include those pretty much by default all the time on images. Whenever I know the dimensions, I always include them. For some browsers, it makes them render the tables a little bit faster. And that's it. That is the highlighting rollover. That's all there is to it. You make sure that those images are listed up here in the JavaScript between those two big comments. There it is. Those are all the images for the highlighting rollover. And it just works beautifully. Next, we'll go to the pointing rollover. The pointing rollover has a little arrow that appears. And so there's basically a blank GIF there by default. And then whenever you roll over one of these other links, the blank GIF is replaced with a little arrow GIF, the one that's next to it there. And so we come down here, we go past our highlighting rollover, and we come over to our pointing rollover, and we see that we have the same 5 images, 1 off, 2 off, 3 off, 4 off, but those don't get swapped out. Instead, there's an image to the left of that, before even the link, which is right there, and that's this image over here. And that's the one that's swapped out. It's got a name, arrow 1, arrow 2, arrow 3, etc. And so in the swap function, we say arrow 1, put in arrow.gif, and on mouse out, say arrow 1, blank.gif. And then over here on mouse over, arrow 2, arrow.gif. And over here on mouse out, you put back the blank.gif. And we do this for each of them, on mouse over, on mouse out. And what we end up with is the pointing rollover. See, it's simple. Next, let's take a look at the slideshow rollover. This one looks more complex, but in fact, it is not. Here we have name equals slideshow for this image all the way down here. Width equals 100, height equals 100. And normally it has the same blank GIF in there. And yet, in the swap functions, we always swap out the slideshow position. There's only one position that we're swapping out. The name goes there. And hand1.gif, hand2.gif, hand3.gif as we roll over the images. 3 off, 4 off, 1 off, 2 off, like that. So as we roll over these images, which are all the off images, the hand is changed in place. Finally, yes, it is possible to do all 3 of them at once. This one's a little bit more complex, but when you understand how it works, it's really not. It's just in each on mouse over, you're doing 3 things. You're calling 3 different swap functions. And you separate them by semicolons, and I laid them out all nice like that, and I just have a quote here and a quote here. Remember, HTML ignores the space. Well, guess what? So does JavaScript. And so we simply do the 3 different types of swaps. And here I have a little C and an underscore before the names. You have the arrow 1 name, and over here you have the C1 and the C arrow 2, and then all the way down at the bottom there will be a slideshow one with C underscore slideshow. And each of these swaps something for arrow and slideshow and the number. And that's really all there is to it. Using those codes and just cutting and pasting in my generic rollover engine, everything between the two comments. There's the other one. And that's really it. That's all you have to do. And you have rollovers. Suave rollovers that work well and are reliable in all the different browsers that support them.